Well, it's an election year. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming in. Even today, sadly, it is the last day of our Tiki in July month, and we were finishing off with the El Presidente. Because, I mean, what's more appropriate now than wanting to drink and think about anything other than the two yahoos that are currently running for president? So, we're going to do that. The El Presidente was created in Havana. It was to celebrate a president. I think there is significant disagreement about which president. Very classic cocktail. It shows once again how important Havana and Cuba is in the sort of cocktail community, and how many really great cocktails came from there. I think we might do a tier ranking of cities and cocktails one of these days. I think that would be interesting because I think Havana would be pretty far up the list. But that's really all we know about the history of the El Presidente, and I think we should stop talking about the history and start drinking it. Okay, we're back and we have ourselves some ingredients, but before we get into that, I want to do something that I don't think I've done before, but I've kind of been introduced since I picked this cocktail. So I have here quote-unquote real Havana Club, which comes from Cuba, and I have the less than real Havana Club that comes from Puerto Rico. I have never actually tasted these back to back. This is supposed to be the same recipe. We'll see. So we have our Havana Club 3-year, which is what I'm going to use in the cocktail because it seems more thematically appropriate. Then we have our other Havana Club, which I believe is Bacardi. Yeah. I'm not sure what the difference is between this Havana Club and the regular Bacardi is. But all right. I'm going to start off with the stuff you can get here in the States. The nose is mostly non-existent. I mean, it's clear spirit, so it's not going to have a real strong nose, but just kind of very light tinges of kind of sweetness. The palate's very much the same. It's a little hotter than I thought it would be, and this isn't particularly high proof. It's only 40%. It actually drinks a little hotter than that for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. So what I get there is just kind of vanilla, light vanilla. There's really not very much going on there. It's not bad. I don't say you shouldn't drink this or whatever. And it's going to be fine in most cocktails. But if you want to sip, it's probably the one I go for. So let's try our real Havana Club 3-year. I'm getting the cane on the nose a lot more on this one. Wow, so definitely not the same thing. You're not going to confuse these two. It's actually got just a little bit of a grassy note on it. You know, we've had rum agricole in the past. It doesn't taste exactly like rum agricole or anything, but it does have that like just a little bit grassy note. So if you've liked rum agricoles, this may be something you'd like. Overall, the palate is just a little bit more complex. The finish is longer. This is aged. I'm not sure if this is aged or not. So that could be one big difference between these two, is just the aging process. 'Cause 3 years, well, 3 years is not a lot. It is definitely enough to pick up some oak. Overall, it's not much of a competition. The real Havana Club is quite a bit better. Again, not bad, just kind of sweet and kind of, it doesn't really distinguish itself in much of any way. So, surprising, probably not very many people. I would definitely go with the real Havana Club. So, we're going to get our shaker. We're going to start tossing in our ingredients. First thing we're going to toss in is our dry curacao. So this calls for a teaspoon. I hate it when recipes call for a teaspoon. I don't keep measuring spoons in the bar, and I don't think most people do. I'm just going to go for a bar spoon. And then, to increasing the irritating nature of this, is going to ask for a half a teaspoon of grenadine. So I am just going to go for a light bar spoon. And I think that is probably going to be just fine. Okay, light-ish. All right. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is it's sort of kind of similar to a daiquiri in some ways, but also not in other ways. The thing is, this is going to be a split base cocktail. So normally you're going to have like 2 ounces or 1.5 ounces, and then everything else in smaller doses. In this case, we're going to have 2 base spirits, and they're going to be equal amounts. We're going to start off with our Dolin Vermouth Blanc. And I have to say, this is my MVP new spirit that I've discovered this year. I tossed it in a bunch of cocktails, and I'd seen it on the shelf before, and I kind of figured, you know, what's that for? But no, this is a good buy. This is a good thing to have in your bar. We're going to do 1.5 ounces of our Dolin Blanc. And then, as I said, we're going to use our Havana Club for our base rum. And that is also going to be 1.5 ounces. All right, so what we need to do now is get some ice in our shaker and shake this thing out. All right, let's go ahead and drop that in there. Give it a good pound and give it a good shake. All right, and unlike last week, I'm not going to forget to double strain, because nobody likes ice chunks or anything else in their cocktail. And we're going to put this into a chilled coupe glass, or in this case, a chilled sort of small martini glass. I'm just going to give that an orange twist for a garnish. Drop that in. And there you have your El Presidente. Let's give it a try. Man, it's a very under the radar kind of thing. There's no big flavors jumping out at you right away. You're getting your rum and your Dolin that are mixing. I'm not getting much in the way of orange or pomegranate, maybe just a tiny little bit. It's very refreshing. It is not what I would call a super flavor forward cocktail. If you're somebody that likes sort of more subtle things, I think you might dig this. I'm getting the Dolin on the finish. The Dolin vermouth is coming in kind of at the end, and it interacts kind of interestingly with everything else. I like it, but it is definitely kind of, and the thing with tiki you kind of expect is big flavors, a lot of times big presentations. Something like this is not that. No, I do like that. I do like that. It has almost kind of a, like rose kind of a, that doesn't really make sense, but that's kind of what I get from it a little bit, like a rose kind of a flavor. It's kind of delicate. It's going to be a, well, I wouldn't say a low ABV cocktail, relatively lower ABV cocktail. It's good. It's kind of a small cocktail. It's not jumping out at you, but when you start to sip it and you kind of focus on the finish, you really are getting some of those interesting notes that are coming out of it. I do get a little bit of the pomegranate. I do get a little bit of the orange, but it's real subtle. It's a very subtle cocktail. So I think this is one of those ones you have to be in the mood for something subtle. I mean, don't think you're going to be having like, you know, a Mai Tai or something like that when you get this, because you're not. It's going to be, again, real subtle. And on that bombshell, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good drink, and have a good day.